What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from ActiveMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and do not enter. Do not enter. Do not. I see you trying to enter, sir, ma'am. Anyway, it's a new film. I love these titles. Anyway, it's it's sort of becoming like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Do not enter. All right, fine. I won't watch your movie then. Okay. Um, but it's based on a book called Creepers, in case which actually, like, once you know that, the rest of the film makes so much more sense, because they definitely, I can see where, like, I haven't read the book. If you're a fan of Creepers, good for you. I bet it's like a series, because the way that this film plays out is that the Creepers are like the new I don't know, the new kids on the block that we're going to be following for multiple sequels. Do not enter 2, do not enter 3. Except like Lionsgate made this, and I don't think it got theatrical distribution. I think it's just one of their straight to streaming titles. So I would be shocked if this actually did get a sequel. Although, spoiler alert, man, this film plays like right, like, oh god, we're gonna have sequels, many of them, because the Creepers are such a cool gang of kids. Don't you want to hang out with them? I didn't hate this movie. Actually, I was thinking about that the whole time. Sometimes I think about how I wish I had the technology to be able to just, instead of like give you reviews, show you like almost like how focus groups do the thing with the dial. So I could start, because I think every movie, I go into every movie fresh. And it's like, how quickly does a movie fall out of fresh into rotten? Or does it stay, and does the dial just kind of move up and down? I'm at like a 7.4, I'm at like a 6.8, I'm at like a 7 point what? Oh, 6.5. You know, sort of that kind of thing, because that kind of felt like how I was feeling about Do Not Enter. It does have audio description. It's done by Zoo Digital, which I don't think I've ever seen them do anything for Lionsgate, so kudos to you, sir. And narrated by Inger Tudor, so it has some decent audio description behind it. Um, and it's a horror movie. I mean, it is a horror movie. It's kind of a slow burn horror movie, although it does have moments. So, um, this film could have played in theaters. I don't think that it's any worse than like Truth or Dare or Tarot. It's actually better than both of those. But it plays like one of those films, you know? Those are not good comparisons. Both of those films are awful. I did actually kind of like this film a little bit more, although it has some ridiculous moments to it. I mean, there are some moments in here that are just hilarious. There's a moment where Cora is, who's one of the creepers, just completely out of context. I have to discuss this moment. So she's walking with Frank, who I'll explain in a minute, and they're walking through a creepy house. Already one of them is missing, and she starts trying to find different ways of walking. She's like reinventing walking. So she's like walking on her hands, she's like crab walking. And it's all like just cuz she wants to. she, she just does like a handstand and just starts walking. Like, what is happening in this movie? And I was like, okay, so this is supposed to show us how flexible she is, and that's going to come in handy later on when her gymnastic skills are. I guess it did. I mean, they use it like once, sort of. There's a scene where she has to hide, and she hides like up above the door frame, like in sort of the she's spread herself out. They're all pretty good at like parkour and getting into places, because that's the whole thing, is that they're these urban explorers. But she's supposed to be like the best of them, so she hides like up toward the ceiling in a closet, so that if you entered the closet and didn't look up, you wouldn't see her. Um, so I guess that's why that was there. I don't know. So what is this? The Creepers are like a group of really bad influencers, hilariously terrible influencers that go to so much trouble. Their video is so well produced. I thought it was hilarious because I clocked it early on. They're doing this opening video where they're like jumping off of a moving train, and they're headed down into, and they're like risking life and limb to get into this super cool place that like nobody's ever been into before. That's like rumored to have existed. There are five of them. Diane, Cora, Victor. I want to say Victor. Could be wrong on that. What were the boys' names? I remember Diane and Cora, but the boys are something else. The three boys. I think one of them is like RJ, TJ, something like that. And Nick, maybe? None of them are played by actors I've ever heard of before. Um, so they basically risk their lives to go down to this cave thing where there's like an original Basquiat that's like painted on the wall, and they're like the only people who ever get to see it, because nobody else has ever been down there. And it's like Basquiat before he was famous, and he was still just doing graffiti on walls inside of dingy subway areas. So they go through all that, and they have a big fight with their TJ guy. He wants to try to take some of the art for himself, and that's not what they do. It's not part of their code. That's not their code, man. Their code is that they're there to just witness. They don't actually steal anything. But RJ's like, I can make a ton of money from this. TJ or RJ, whatever his name is. So he steals a Basquiat, and they kick him out of the group and make him leave. But he sells his Basquiat, and the whole time they're like live streaming, and at one point it shows how many views they have, and the audio description even read it off. It was like 128 views for a live stream for these guys who are jumping off of moving trains. I'm like, that's not enough views to get. I realize I don't have a lot of views on my channel, which is why I don't do a lot of live streams. So, y'all gotta know, like, do you have the viewer base for it before you go jumping out of moving trains? So, anyway, um, so that's their first mission. Then they go back together, the four of them that are remaining, and they're like, ugh, and one of them is like, later on they're like, how many people watched the video? And they're like 84, and they're like, 84,000? That's amazing. No, 84. 84 people. Like, that's not even the same amount that watched your live stream. What's happening? What's up with these numbers? So, anyway, the world's worst social media influencers in terms of doing this kind of stuff decide that they have to go bigger. And they got the blueprints to this old hotel, which they do open up with, and the whole opening credits feel like House on Haunted Hill, where it's like explaining to you the mystery of this house, like in the background. It's like news stories and stuff of this hotel that used to be fancy, and celebrities used to stay there. It's one of those big Hollywood hotels, huge, gigantic, fancy, posh, all that kind of stuff. But it was owned by a gangster who killed his wife, and then he was wanted for murder, and then now it's been an urban legend where everybody who goes in there never comes out. Oh no. I should give at least some sort of a spoiler warning in case I go too far with this. But I don't plan on it, but you never know. So they go into their big plan is to go into, but obviously they're terrible at everything that they do, hilariously so. So like one of them forgot to gas up the van. They're like, whose job was it to gas? Oh, we didn't gas up the van. I was like, it doesn't even have enough gas in it to get to a gas station, like so that you can get gas on the way, because they end up having to. So Diane ends up putting a social media post because they see that TJ, RJ, whatever, has joined with these other two, Matt and Todd, who are like clearly losers. It's just, and they're like boasting about how they have this Basquiat, and they're So she decides to post, like, get ready for this bitches, hashtag Paragon. And so they get their stuff together. She dyes her hair magenta, which is fun. Good. I'm glad we did that. Uh, and they head out to go on the road, but oh no, they can't. And also, they've got a new guy that's joining them, Frank, who is with Vice News. I'm surprised Vice News let themselves be used for this, but cool. Um, Frank is one of the better characters in this. He kind of comes in as like he feels like the dad. Like he feels like inherently generationally older than everybody, and he's there to, I don't know, follow them, and he lets them take the lead on this exploration thing. Like he's there to, and the whole time I was like, this isn't real, because he's not really documenting anything. He's not really there with a camera. There's no really like an indication that he's there as an actual journalist. But he says he's a journalist and he's there to like document their getting into the Paragon. So they're like, oh, cool, yeah, any exposure is good exposure. Even when we'll do like illegal things. So Frank ends up teaming up with them, which is good because he has a car and they don't, because nobody gassed it up, and apparently has no gas to be able to even get to a gas station to get gas in the van. There's a joke about their van and how it didn't come with a dog, which I thought was clever. So I don't totally hate this movie. This movie's kind of fun. It's not the worst thing ever. It kind of knows what it is and it sticks to itself. So they end up so they have all their tools, right? And they get in, they cut locks and stuff to get in there. And what I thought was funny is when they go down to the tunnels, they're ready to go. And he's like, why do we have to go in through the tunnels? And they're like, because the rest of it's boarded up. And I was like, guys, you just cut a lock off. Are you telling me you can't rip a board off of a window? Like, you where do you draw the line at breaking and entering? You're like, we'll cut off chains, but my God, if there's a board on a window, that's like an impenetrable force. It's like the people in stores who, that thing that's wrapped around the bananas and nobody ever wants to break it, so they either take like all of the bananas, whether they need them or not. They just don't want to cut that little force field that protects the bananas. It's like, oh no, the boarded up windows. How will we ever get in? I guess we got to go in through the tunnels. So they go in through the tunnels, which leads to a rat segment, which is fun for anybody who loves rats. Get ready for that. There's an uh, unwieldy amount of rats. Eventually, they're able to get through to their destination, and they break in, which, I mean, it looks kind of creepy. Cora almost dies by a crashing um, chandelier. Uh, don't worry, this film is not big on killing people off, so it's just not. Um, so Diane heads off on her own, which is weird because I had been reading Diane as sort of like the lead of the film up until this point. She kind of has been like taking the lead. So I was like, well, because you do the math in your head and you're like, well, who's the least one to die? I was like, I bet it's going to be like Diane and Frank at the end of this. And so Diane heads off on her own. And my favorite part of the audio description was the specificity with, I gotta say, shout out to Zoo Digital, because I don't understand what it means. It either is a baby grand or it's not. When you say it resembles a baby grand, what does that mean to you? Like, you have a grand, you have a baby grand, you have an upright. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are different kinds. What does resembles a baby grand to you mean? Like, I'm so confused now. I'm more confused than if you had just said it was a baby grand. So, um, but there's a piano up there and she plays around with it a little bit and then she starts hearing noises. Oh no, noises. And then she shouts at them, and I was having a hard time hearing noises in the sound design. I was like, it just sounds like the house is creaking. Like, it doesn't actually sound like there's anything around her. So she panics and runs, and The girl that, I mean, they're so used to like jumping around and flipping around and getting into things, so she like trips on the stairs because that makes sense. But the film needed her to trip on the stairs so she could go missing, so that people could then go find her. So that becomes the big thing of the film is we got to find Diane. So the remaining people go trying to find Diane in this hotel that supposedly nobody's ever left. Um, there's a little bit of a backstory with Frank. Guess what? He's not from Vice News. Oh, spoiler. In case there were people out there who legitimately thought he was from Vice News without doing any actual journaling or reporting or showing his ID or anything at this point. He's there for a different reason. Although, uh, you know, I don't know. I don't want to ruin his whole reason slash backstory. Although he will tell them before the halfway point. So they do kind of split up, and the guys head off together, and then Frank and Cora head off together for a while, which is when she starts like walking on her hands. And um, we find out that somehow the other three, of course, TJ and his new gang, which is led by the psychotic Todd, he's the leader of this trio now, have shown up, and they're here because they've heard the legend of the $300 million hidden somewhere within the hotel. That's all they want, and they're like, "Where is it? We know you have it." And they're like, "We don't have that. What makes you think we found the $300 million that quick?" Like that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, Todd's not bright. So, um, so he, uh, so he ends up doing something that makes it harder for them to find the money, which is kind of hilarious because there's another scene where that happens again, and it's towards the end to a different character. But okay, so there's something that happens. Not spoiling. I'm trying to say this without a spoiler because it's one of the things when I got down to the end of the movie, I was like, wait, what? So there's this thing that happens to one of the characters where you're like, oh, well, gone. Dead. Nope. Um, and then later on, like, basically that same exact thing happens to another character, and they're like, oh, rest in peace, man. And then, like, they don't go get him. They're just like, whatever. I'm just, I'm like, but the other, what? And I love people, by the way, who sustain damage in this thing, and they're like, they just get up and walk around. Like, they're just like, I don't know. Like, later on when you see Diane, after there was, like, the audio description had a comment about her twisting her ankle and then falling on the stairs, and she falls, like, a couple stairs down on the floor. She's just walking around, like, she's okay. She's good. She walked it off. And there's the other character who has this thing happen to him. He's fine later on. He's just walking around. And like definitely like lucky to be alive type situation. You know what I'm saying? Like he should have broken bones for sure. Um, but yeah, this film is kind of silly, kind of goofy, but it's also kind of fun. Like I actually had a lot of fun with this. This is sort of where I was at with House on Eden last year, where like everybody was bombing it and they're like, I don't like this movie. This movie's hot garbage. I was like, I kind of like it. I I don't know why. Like I kind of liked Shelby Oaks too. These films have this weird charm to it where I didn't hate them. I think there are worse horror movies out there. There's something about this film where it just kind of plays beat for beat. Do I want more for this movie? I absolutely do. I absolutely want more for this movie. I'm so surprised at like who survives and who doesn't. Like at the end of the film, I'm like, what? Come on. That's why I was like, well, they're gonna make a Creepers sequel. They must have a series of Creepers books. But yeah, it's a fun movie. There's a creature in the hotel, don't worry. It's not some fake ass thing where there's nobody in there. There is some mysterious, weird shit happening in the hotel that doesn't even really make any sense, but it allows for some interesting moments. I'm not sure the film makes any bit of sense at all, but it's kind of a cool setting, kind of a cool premise. Um, and I don't know, some of the deaths are brutal. There are a couple deaths and they kind of suck when they happen, but they, at least some of them happen to people that you're like, well, those guys, like the guys, the ones that you want, and then you're like, that guy, well, that guy's, he will get, he will get fucked. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so you're wondering, like, well, who else is going to along the way? Because this is one of those films where people will suffer. They'll take damage and they'll just get up and walk away. So when one of them finally does, and they're like, wow, I guess that's it. I'm like, but, but what? So I'm not sure it offers a whole lot new. It was about 90 minutes, and I actually had fun with it. It was kind of light and fun. I didn't hate it like I did with Tarot. Like, Tarot was my least favorite film. That was the worst film that I saw that year that it came out, because it didn't even make any sense at all. Like, um, they didn't they didn't follow the order. Like, there were deaths that didn't make any sense. I love the one where the girl's out in the middle of nowhere and there's like a noose that comes down from the sky. I'm like, where is the noose coming from? From where? Like, you couldn't even write a scene where there would naturally be a noose for her. She's out in the middle of a bridge. Where is she getting pulled up to? The sky? Anyway, there's nothing like that in here except they do sustain damage that would probably have killed them or hurt them or caused them to limp or at least walk around going like, oh guys, oh shit, oh my god. You know? No, these guys recuperate like they're in a video game. So, audio description was good. Zoo Digital does nice work. So I'm excited for that. I think they're currently doing The Pit for HBO Max, I think. So I love the narrator. I think she did nice work. I'm generally a fan of Ingrid Tudor, so that was great. As far as audio description specificity with like what did we do wrong, what did we do, there's some gore that's done nicely. The only thing is maybe the creature in terms of size relativity, like how much bigger than the humans it is. So that would probably be about it that I would say if I could go in and clock. Sometimes size relativity is something that's forgotten about in audio description, especially when you have something that isn't, it works, it comes more into play in like fantasy, sci-fi, horror when you start having things that don't exist in the real world and you're like, oh, I don't know how tall that is. Thanks. You know, I mean, with other things that we have sort of a foundation or basis for in real life, it becomes a little bit more like, I don't necessarily need to know how tall that is because I can kind of, you know, we got a general idea of having lived a life. But when you start introducing things that don't exist, it's good to know how much taller than someone it is. When you get the idea that it's supposed to be taller or much shorter, you know, you never know. There could be little uh, mini killer creatures. It happens sometimes. But that's it. That's what I got. So I'm struggling with this because I feel like I'm gonna be like the only fresh review for it on Rotten Tomatoes. But I kind of liked it. It's not great. It's it's not a great movie. But at the same time, it comes down to would you recommend it? Would you not recommend it? It's like I kind of thought it had a plot. Like it kind of plotted itself well. I think there definitely could have been another pass on the screenplay. I'm so intrigued as to when they made this. Did they think they were going to make a sequel? Is that why things are the way that they are? Is because there are like 10 Creepers books and they were like readying themselves for a sequel? Because it feels like that. But also, we live in a reality where it's like, I look at this film, there's no one in it that I know of. Lionsgate seems to be sending this straight to video. So it's not going to get a sequel. So it's sort of like it's a pointless ending at the end of the day. It's very odd. Anyway, we're gonna go barely fresh here, but I do like it. Just enough. Just enough. I'm gonna give it a 6.1 out of 10. We're gonna eke this across the finish line here, and send some positive vibes. You know what? I didn't hate the cast. I thought these were for a group of young fellow that I didn't know who they were. I thought they all did fine. I actually liked Frank. I would love to see him more in things. I thought the older adult he had a lot more potential. He had gravitas. I was drawn more to him as a character. He just had a lot of presence to him. So yeah, I'm we're gonna go fresh here on this one, 6.1 out of 10. Not necessarily rushing out to see it, but if you're looking for a fresh horror movie that has sort of a House on Haunted Hill vibe, but also as if it was maybe written by the people who did Truth or Dare or Tarot. Both films are terrible. I don't know what else to compare it to though. But it's got that vibe of group of young kids. Social media is very important to them. Um, you know what Lionsgate put out last year, like horror movies? They put out like The Nighttime World. That was terrible. This is way better than that. So Lionsgate has a problem of having these straight to video movie releases like Gunslingers and Alarum that are just dreadful. Just dreadful movies that nobody should have ever made. I didn't hate this. Okay? I did not hate this movie. So, it should have gone theatrical. I liked it better than is this well, This Is Not a Test. I liked it better than This Is Not a Test, which did go to theaters from IFC. So, there's your metric. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.